Hello, everybody. I had a bit of a rough day today, so I decided to work on this script as something a little bit more general to help myself feel better. It's not a rant per se, I promise it's not a rant, and it's not exactly related to a specific game like Forsaken or Dead by Daylight or anything like that, but I definitely feel it's still relevant to those games and could realistically be applied to any video game. I like to keep the tone of my videos mostly positive, maybe a little informative, but for the most part, I just like to share my opinions and thoughts. Today is slightly different, maybe a little bit more personal, and I hope that's okay. As someone who works a full time job, which I absolutely love, I might add, but it can be a very mentally demanding and exhausting field of work. There are some days I just want to come home, turn my brain off, and play some video games like the absolute nerd and introvert that I am. It's what makes me happy, and let me tell you, there are extremely rough days where the last thing I want to do when I'm drained, stressed, and maybe even a little bit sad is to try my heart out in a video game. I can almost guarantee everyone that works to survive or goes to classes, goes to school, but also enjoys video games as a hobby has shared this feeling at some point or another. And although there are a lot of times where I do welcome a challenge or a learning opportunity and I want to improve at the characters that I love, I don't always want to think about perfecting my gameplay. And honestly, there's days I just really don't want to try. I just want to mindlessly play a game that I enjoy. Usually, this means indulging in a single player game where my tiredness and lack of effort isn't an active detriment to other people. Games like Subnautica, Silent Hill, Red Dead Redemption, or the odd park builder like Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster are my usual go tos when I just need some me time. But as someone who viciously hyperfixates on one game at a time, it doesn't always end up that way. Sometimes I really just want to play Forsaken or Dead by Daylight or whatever game I'm into at the time, even if I know I'm not going into those games 100%. I'm at peace with the fact that I'll probably lose most of my games when I'm in this exhausted state of mind. I can acknowledge that I'm not at my best, and that is perfectly okay and valid. Casual players are underrated because they're some of the most fun, chill, and enjoyable people to be around. Some of my absolutely closest friends are the most casual gamers I know, and I love them for it because playing with them comes with zero pressure, zero expectations to play optimally, and there's usually a lot of laughter involved. It's generally just good for the soul. With that said, there's also nothing wrong at all with playing to win or playing a game competitively. While some people find their fun in laid back, chill games, others find it in striving to win and perfect their craft, and they're valid for that too. I think there are some problems when these two different kinds of people collide. It was a huge problem in DVD, and I think it will forever be a problem in the world of online gaming. We just have to accept that every player probably has a different mindset from us, and we have to learn to live with each other. But this isn't a discussion on casual versus competitive, so back to the topic at hand. It kind of surprises me when people decide to shit talk someone that loses a game. We call those people sore winners, and we laugh at those people because they are kind of pathetic. I don't condone or partake in this behavior, but I can mildly understand people who get salty about losing and maybe having a little bit of a crash out in the chat to some extent. It's normal to be frustrated about losing, but why in the world do people get frustrated and salty when somebody else loses a game? I guess they just find it fun to pour salt in the wound. I'm all for fun, but not at the expense of people I don't know and will probably never see again. To bring this back around, it does suck to have an exhausting day where I just want to zone out and play a game, only to have little Timmy 470 with 30 days and Forsaken flame me for losing his 1x for no reason, other than to make me feel bad, I suppose. That person has no idea of my situation. They don't know that I'm already exhausted, tired, and not really trying. I don't expect them to either, nor do I have any interest in chatting with them to explain why I played badly or wasn't putting any effort into the game. Ultimately, those people are not worth my time and energy, and they're not worth yours either. It's better to just ignore them rather than give them the attention and reaction that they so desperately want. The point that I'm trying to make is that it's okay to be bad at games. It's okay to not win all the time, and it's okay to enjoy a game casually. If I'm having a bad day, I just start blocking people so I don't have to see their chats and keep the chat closed because I already know and have come to terms with the fact that I'm not at my best. I don't need or want to hear it from other players. It got to a point where I completely turned off my ability to receive messages on PlayStation because my mental health is far more important than some dipshit's opinion on how I played badly. Even on good days, I'm not a perfect person, and I'm okay with that. You should be too with your own rough days. I sometimes have to remind myself that these other players are also human beings. They've got their own stuff that they're dealing with too. Maybe that guest that fucked up his charge every time is having a rough day. Maybe that Elliot that can't land a pizza throw to save his life is having the worst day of their life. These people get on games after putting their pets to sleep, from attending the funeral of a loved one, after going through a difficult breakup, after a hard day at work or at school. Those are some extreme examples. Sometimes people are just tired or not all that interested in trying. Every reason is valid. I think the online gaming scene as a whole has just gotten more competitive with time. We have so many games that have a ranked scene or see a lot of pro level play, and it's just part of the culture at this point. And to be fair, I think it's really fun to watch games be played at a high level, even if I never planned to play like that myself. How many times have you gotten frustrated with someone that has played better than you in a round and likely caused you to lose? It's one thing to be a sore winner and rub it in the face of a losing player. That's just mean spirited and totally unnecessary. But I'm not talking about those people. I mean just genuinely good and talented players who are simply just playing the game, but can run circles around you for days. So many times I've seen people get tilted and angry at people just because they were the better player, and that's a mindset that's detrimental to everybody. Why should that person feel ashamed because they played well? I have to reiterate that frustration is normal and part of human nature, and it's okay to feel those feelings. But instead of insulting that player, compliment them for playing well. Keep trying to chase them because, well, you may not win, you're learning something from them every time. I really enjoy playing with really good players and watching really good players because I feel like even though I know they are significantly better than me, I'm learning from them all the time by watching them play, by playing against them. I think that is something that more people need to take into their gaming sessions because if you're getting frustrated at people who are playing better than you, I think you need to try and learn from those experiences rather than just getting upset and angry at that person for being the better player. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier that I don't always feel like trying to improve, but there's days where I really do want to learn, and I'll stick around those really high playtime gamers to treat the games like a challenge. I may get my ass absolutely handed to me, but I'm trying to learn as long as no one is being unnecessarily negative, mean, or toxic. Even within those losing games, I can go back and think about things I actually did well. Really difficult games are about taking your small wins. What did you do particularly well that round? Maybe you hit an amazing Void Rush chain with Noli, even though you lost the game. Maybe you hit a really good shot with Chance, even though you died. You had a really long chase with the killer, even though you did not run the entire timer out. Maybe you got this super sick snipe with John Doe, or you got a really good cutoff, even though the other survivors had great pathing and you couldn't win at the end of the day. Taking the small wins within a game is always good, and it makes taking losses not feel so bad at the end of the day. Save your really tough games, watch them back when you're in a better and calmer state of mind. Think about the mistakes you made, and take that into your next game. For example, I have a terrible habit of overextending, even if I hit a really good cutoff with John, and it can cost me kills. I'm very aware of this, and I've been trying to make a more conscious effort about correcting it in my own games. I think most importantly, don't stress out about the things that you can't control. You can't control which map you load into, you can't control which survivors people choose to play, so there's no point in getting upset about those things because ultimately there is nothing you can do to change those aspects, so just keep your chin up and do your best. The idea and mindset that we're all human and we will make mistakes is a mindset I try to keep with me even in my real life. I try to treat mistakes like a learning opportunity and try not to beat myself up too hard about it when I do make them. If a game has tilted you so much that you simply cannot just shake it off or shrug it away, take a step back, take a break. All too many times, I see gamers bashing their heads into a brick wall because they continue to torment themselves when they're having a horrible time, and misery loves company. I feel like this is when frustrated players really start projecting their frustration and negativity onto others instead of simply just taking a break, and it doesn't even have to be a long break. If I'm at that point, I'll do something else. I'll go take care of some housework that needs to be done. I'll cook something. I'll play with my cats. I'll take a walk, or I'll just lay in my bed and listen to music until I calm down. It doesn't have to be those things, just something that you enjoy that's not a video game. Give yourself a brain break and then come back to it with a better mindset. I think this would also be a good time to discuss something that affects me a lot personally, and it's something that I have struggled with in Dead by Daylight for many, many years. And there's been some discussion about it amongst that community, but it seems to be a very common problem from people that enjoy playing the killer role specifically. And what I'm talking about is called killer anxiety. Do you ever sit in the lobby, you know that you're about to load in as the killer, and you feel that tight feeling in your stomach? Maybe you feel a little nauseous, contemplating leaving the lobby because you're not mentally ready for the next round. That little nagging feeling about what happens if you lose. Of course, you know nothing will happen to you. You'll just move on to the next round and stop playing for the day if it's a particularly terrible loss. But for me, anyways, there's always this horrible nervous feeling about how I'm going to perform, even if I know it doesn't matter and the people I'm playing against won't give a shit or remember me at all in about 10 minutes. It's something that I would describe as similar to stage fright, performance anxiety, and this is made worse on killers I play a lot and, for the most part, feel comfortable with. Like, I have expectations for myself that I need to hold up, and if I fail to meet those expectations, it really hurts my confidence. And I'm naturally a pretty anxious person, so I just feel like this is a daily struggle, honestly. Again, I know mentally that nothing will happen if I take a loss or have a bad game, but that doesn't stop me from feeling hesitant to even load into a match some days. It's so much easier to just jump the lobby or disable killer altogether, or play Survivor exclusively on Dead by Daylight, even though I very much considered myself a killer main when I did play that game. These feelings of stress and anxiety are, from what I've heard from other people, very common, so I would dare say that these are normal and valid feelings. Loading into a game you're already anxious about almost feels like making yourself vulnerable. Like you're opening yourself up to humiliation and harassment by a bunch of people that you don't know and don't matter at the end of the day. And maybe that's exactly why it feels so bad. Losing doesn't feel fun ever. But as humans, we want connection with people that enjoy the same things as we do. It's like when you were playing with other kids in school and you saw some kids playing with Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever the hell the kids are playing with nowadays, only for them to belittle and bully you when you had a crappy deck or didn't play how they wanted you to play. Ultimately, we just want community and belonging as human beings, and playing well in a game or just playing in general feels like it should invite that kind of feeling of belonging. Only people on the internet are horrible and mean-spirited because they also have the benefit of being anonymous. As I discussed earlier, games in general, but especially online live service games, have just gotten more competitive over time, and some people do find community in playing to be the absolute best. Competitive players have their own sense of community by being, well, competitive, to the point where friendly banter and shit talking is just part of their social interactions. But that's not the case for the vast majority of the community. I have a few examples of my own experiences being an anxious gamer. I remember playing in a friendly competition several years ago hosted by a Dead by Daylight streamer. He did these weekly tournament style things. There were no stakes, it was just friendly competition. It was very laid back. I decided to try my hand at it, and it was absolutely terrible. I played a low tier killer at the time that I was maining, but I was put up against a team of survivors that did have competitive experience when I did not at the moment. I lost terribly, And I remember being so embarrassed that I had a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I was so stressed. I was supposed to play a second round, but I was so freaked out that I just shut the game off and I had to stop and catch my breath. I wasn't crying, but I felt like I wanted to cry, but I can only describe it as what I imagine an anxiety or a panic attack feels like. Like, I was struggling to breathe. Yoshi had to calm me down. I remember that very distinctly. To this day, I can't really pinpoint why I reacted so badly. The streamer was nice enough about it. The chat was very encouraging and not mean. The other players didn't BM, they were just playing, and were also encouraging about it. I wasn't harassed, I wasn't belittled or insulted, so why did I have such this adverse reaction to an otherwise normal loss? I think it may have been the fact that the game was broadcasted, so I did lose in front of 50 to 60 people who were watching. It was just embarrassing. Like how I would imagine someone would feel if you tripped walking across the stage during your graduation ceremony. I haven't reacted that way ever since then, and not on my own streams either. I can take losses on the chin, typically, but that moment certainly sticks with me, and while I feel like I carry those anxious feelings whenever I load into a killer game, I feel like I can pinpoint that interaction as the source of my killer anxiety. I think killer anxiety in general can also be attributed to a fear of the unknown and a lack of control. I don't know if I'm going to load into a map that massively puts my chosen killer at a disadvantage, nor do I know what survivors I'm up against or their skill levels. It's all a toss-up. And that can be intimidating. Mentally, I tell myself it's just a video game, that I'm just in it for the fun, and I try not to worry about the outcome of a round. I know I believe that too. Some days I simply do not give a fuck what happens. But in those days where I do want to be better and I do want to improve, losing can feel particularly tough on the ego. I recently submitted a John Doe game to a larger, well-known Roblox YouTuber, Meatkill, after he asked for losing games to review on his Discord channel. It was a frustrating loss, and I happened to record it. I was hoping to get some insightful feedback on what I could have done better from someone who is much better at the game than I am. Like I said, sometimes I do have the drive to improve, and sometimes that means consulting outside help. Well, he did review the game, and I actually did get some very helpful feedback that I really tried to take to heart. But when I tell you the anxiety that I felt when that video went up, I really put off watching it because I was so scared of being ripped apart in front of potentially thousands of viewers. I wasn't sure if I was ready for the possibility of being super embarrassed like that yet again, just like I was during that casual tournament. I wanted to watch it immediately, but I seriously had to put it off until like the very end of the day because I was so anxious about it. And it wasn't that bad. He was a lot nicer to me than he was to other people. But the point is, personally, I like to try to push myself out of my comfort zone sometimes so I can be a better player. However, those feelings you feel are totally normal, valid, and I guarantee you're not the only one who feels anxious or nervous loading into a killer game. Try not to let it get to you too much, and that's easier said than done, I know. Some people don't feel any killer anxiety at all, and all I can say to that is, I'm really happy you don't have to experience that, and I wish I had your confidence. It's important to remember that even if you feel anxious, it is ultimately just a game. The people you're playing against won't remember you, even if you remember the loss. Protect your mental health. Don't even bother reading chat after a losing game. There is nothing that they can say that will help you feel anything positive. Hop to a different lobby with different players for a little bit of a reset, turn off your ability to receive messages, and simply just play. Just some things that work for me when I'm feeling particularly unconfident. Another small thing that I do that helps me, and I'm sure this is purely just a placebo effect, but sometimes I'll use the default character skins instead of my favorite ones when I'm feeling really down on myself. Something about loading in as default John Doe just takes the pressure off my shoulders in a small, strange way. I also hide my playtime and my wins. Not that it matters, but I think keeping it hidden just helps my peace of mind a little bit more. To conclude this month's Yap session, everyone experiences gaming in their own way. Some people take it more seriously than others, and everyone is valid for how they choose to play. Whether you're grinding your win rate and trying to perfect your craft, or just trying to wind down after a long day, We should all try to be a little bit more accepting of people who have a different mindset than us. We're all here because we like video games and ultimately all want to have a good time. We should try to focus more on building a respectful and accepting community and not try to fight with each other so much about targeting or tryharding or not being good at all because honestly, who the fuck cares? Be kind to your fellow gamer. You don't know what they're going through and you don't know what they're feeling in the moment. We should respect each other as human beings above all else. Sorry for the deep and mushy, all up in my feels talk. I'll stop now. Based on comments I've gotten on my other videos, there seems to be a serious lack of content from your average or casual gamers, and people seem to really appreciate someone from that crowd speaking up. I hope I can kind of be that voice and represent that group a little bit more, because honestly, public players, casual players make up the vast majority of the player base in any video game. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm sorry it's not necessarily the usual discussion content, but I did want to put something out before Azure releases, and this has been on my mind for a bit. If you hate the deeper discussions, feel free to tell me and I'll never make one ever again. But I do appreciate any and all support, and also thank you for helping me get above 400 subscribers. I really didn't expect as much growth as I've seen in the last few weeks, and I really appreciate everybody for commenting, watching. Just any support that I've gotten has been so humbling, and thank you so much. Anyways, have a great rest of your day.